Rich Rookie.
What's up, everybody? It's TBE Trucking. I've been getting some questions about Marten Transport, so I wanted to answer some of these questions. Other guys that are, I guess they drive for Marten, they've been in my comments trying to answer some of these questions. I don't always see the comments. I have no way. I've made over 100 videos, so it's hard for me to go back to each video and check a new question out. I've just taken time over the past 30 minutes to go back over some of my old videos, and some of you had questions about the Walmart account they have now at out of the Tucker yard. All I know is about that account. They just expanded that account, and that they got brand new trucks for drivers that come over. They got brand new T680s. You probably heard me crying about them as I was driving to the yard, and you probably heard my whining because I want another truck. But those brand new T680s are for the Walmart account only. So you have to be driving the Walmart account in order to get one of those brand new trucks. Marten has guaranteed $1,000 a week pay as long as you do everything you're supposed to do. You probably see in my Marten Payday video where I didn't quite understand it, but I'm explaining to you in detail now that I do understand it, is that you can only take a 32 in order to qualify for the guaranteed thousands, unless you know that you have enough miles to cover that you're going to make 1,000 or more. Then it doesn't matter. You have to send your paperwork on time. That also matters. You have 10 hours from the time that you send in your final destination. You got 10 hours to send in your paperwork, or you will not qualify for the automatic $1,000. You cannot refuse loads, which means you and your dispatch can have a dispute over a load. Like, I've gotten my guaranteed pay even though I've turned the load down, because they're gonna call you back and be like, well, why don't you want this load? And if you can explain to them, which makes sense, then you and your dispatch can go back and forth, and the two of you can figure it out. You'll still qualify for the $1,000 because you're not just outright just turning down any load they send you. There is no forced dispatch. That's another thing. I heard there used to be a forced dispatch for Marten. There's not a forced dispatch. You can negotiate the dispatch if you're not happy with where you're going or where they're sending you, or you don't feel comfortable with the hours. That's all part of your communication with your driver manager. So you have to communicate that to your driver manager so that can be explained of why you don't want that load or where it's going. Now, sometimes it could just be the weekend. It can be like, hey, we got this load. All right, well, you don't want it, but we have this. And you got the choice between those two loads. What do you want to do? And sometimes it goes down like that. But there is no forced dispatch where you say you're going here, that's where you're going. If you don't go there, then your ass is fired. They don't do that. If that was the case, I would have been got fired, because I turn down loads all the time. As far as your truck is concerned, I do not take my truck home, but I can take my truck home as a company driver. Where I live at, they don't allow trucks there, so you do have to give them the address to the nearest place or safe place at least has a camera. Like a truck stop that has a camera. I do rural farms I park. My truck and trailer actually has a running camera where other guys also park their trucks and trailers at. As far as per cents a mile, it's 50 cents a mile. They do have something called it's not guaranteed
home
pay.
Messaging.
Let's see if I can find it on here. It's called let me find it. Premium pay. All right, now premium pay is I think 55 to 60 cents a mile if you didn't get enough to make $1,000 that week. So what I feel they're doing is like basing everything around $1,000, since that seems to be the minimum of what guys are trying to make when they're out here, even if they're just regional. Like nobody wants to $600 or $500 paycheck every week if you're running your butt off. So that's the whole point of what they're trying to do. Like, okay, you didn't do what you needed to do to get your guaranteed 1,000, so we're going to pay you premium pay. So that's 55 cents, 60 cents a mile. They give you an extra 5 to 10 cents a mile to help make up for that. So that's why I've been averaging a pretty good paycheck every week, even if I don't get my guaranteed pay, except for the 1 week, which I made a video about. So I really didn't do anything that week. That was why I only had a $300 something check. So, but yeah, you got to be willing to do just a 34. If you are gonna, you can stay out 2 weeks and be home for 3 days, but you better make sure that you got enough miles to cover. So it's either you're going to have to balance out what's more important, staying home for 3 days, or getting your $1,000. Or like I do, I make sure that I make well over $1,000. You know what I mean? Because I'm coming out of Delaware now, they have to run me all the way back to Georgia before they start running me around. So it's already 1,000 miles to get me to Georgia. I've already knocked off 1,000 there. Then after that, I usually go from Florida all the way upstate to Illinois or Annapolis. It's 1,000 miles to come back from Annapolis all the way back down to Florida, and that's usually how I get my $1,400 to $1,500 checks. That's usually how that works. So, but you have to communicate with your driver manager. You can't just accept whatever comes across the call comm. If you give them an idea of how you like to run, they will work with you. Like my driver manager, I'll tell her, hey man, if you get something coming out of the east, because I'm in Delaware, you got something coming out of the east, can you send me across the top, like to Annapolis, Ohio, you know, where something like that. Then you know they got to, if you're out of Tucker Yard, they got to get you back down south. So you're going to get that 1,000, then you're going to end up with like 1,600 miles in just 4 days of just going across and coming back down. And then you still have another whole 3 days to run. So that's, you have to be smart about it. You just have to communicate. That's all you have to do with your driver manager. Just communicate. Now, as far as the orientation, I had questions about that. The orientation is not hard. They put you in a pretty nice hotel. I thought it was a nice hotel compared to them damn hotels that Stevens had. So I keep calling Stevenson. Don't worry about it. That's just a misspeak on my part. But who gives a damn about Stevens? But yeah. So orientation is not hard. Just got a bunch of videos, a bunch of paperwork. Like when you go to any company, it's the same crap. Now, the only thing that's going to throw you for a loop is the mandatory sleep apnea test. You have to take a mandatory sleep apnea test. And some of you are going to fail that. Some of you have sleep apnea and didn't know it. I have sleep apnea. I did not know I had sleep apnea. I thought it was just for fat people. So if you cannot be fat and still have sleep apnea, because myself, female, and another dude had it, but the dude quit because he's not wearing those CPAP machines. So I guess there's places that don't have a mandatory sleep apnea test. They just go off your physical, whether or not they recommend you to have a sleep, and because of your neck size. My neck size was under 17, so I didn't have to. I had to do that for when I was at Stevens. So, but here you have a mandatory sleep apnea test. So you have to take that, and if you fail it, you got to have the machine, and you have to wear the machine at least 70% during the week, or they will call you in and write you up, put you on their probation and all that if you don't. So I've gotten written up once. I ought to know. I'm going to tell me because my behind got written up for that. Rest of the orientation, the woman that does the orientation, she's a very nice woman. She works with you. She wants to see everybody get a job and people come through. if you go to Stevenson, um, it is on you. I don't recommend anybody that comes there because guys have not been getting their pay for recommending people. I don't know why, but guys just haven't. I mean, people still put it out there, but if you're going to come to Marten because you want to come to Marten, not because somebody, did I say Stevenson just a while ago? I think I did. They're on my damn mind right now. I've been seeing their trucks everywhere. But if you decide to come to Marten, it's not a hard place. You got to go in once a month to get your truck, get a safety inspection. I think it was at Stevens, it was only 3 months, every 3 months. Well, these are Freightliners, a whole lot of Freightliners. So these jokers need to go in as much as they can, or else your behind gonna be on the side of the road somewhere. So whenever you go by the yard, I don't care if you only been out for 2 weeks, just take it through the safety lane, because you never know when it's going to be an inconvenience for you to be sent back to the yard. Sometimes that can be an inconvenience for you to be sent back to the yard for a safety check when you're in the middle of trying to get your miles because you need a certain paycheck to take care of something or something like that. If you're lollygagging that day, you're not really running that day, they send you by the yard, go ahead through the safety lane. It don't take nothing but 30, 40 minutes, get the truck checked, you know what I mean? Then that'd be 30 more days you can tack on to whenever you have to come back in again. So any other questions I had was just the orientation. There is a driver's test, but it's not really a driver's test. You're just really driving around the block. It's a really, really old dude. He's going to show you how they want you to drive and how they want you to hook up to a trailer. Now, the trailer hookup thing that they do is they want you to line up, back up to the trailer, and as soon as you're about to make contact with the fifth wheel, before you do, they want you to stop and hook up your lines, your air lines, and your pigtail. They want you to hook that up. Then go ahead and get back in the truck and finish backing up and hooking up. I don't know why that's necessary to do, but to me, I always take, because I've made some mistakes in the past, I get close to it. I fill it out. If I don't feel like it's connected, I get out, take a look to see if that trailer needs to go up or down. Because of these Freightliners, unlike the Kent Works, you can't dump the air out the back bags to drop it down. You can't do that in the Freightliners. So you have to make sure the trailer's at the right height. So you may have to adjust the trailer from guys lowering it too low. I know I was taught at Stevenson, when I was at Stevenson, as soon as it touches the ground, you give it a couple of more cranks. Here at Marten, they don't do that. It's like as soon as it's about to touch the ground, you stop. Do not lower it no more than that. So that's worked for me. Every trailer I went to go pick up, I barely had to touch it or fool with it. When I was at Stevens, I constantly had to wrestle with the trailers and get them at the right height, all because guys crank on them too much before they lower them down. So that's it. Just let them tell you, even though you may know how to do it, just let them talk. Let them go ahead and explain to you how they do it, and so you can be done with it. They want to see how well you take information. It's not just about whether or not you know what you're doing. So you have to be able to receive information. That's one of the little things they got. Other than that, man, it's an all right place, man. It's a whole lot easier. Unless you've really, really done something wrong, nobody really calls you in. Unlike Stevens, you don't have to go through all the tests and all that. You get a video once a month. You watch the video, pass the video, you get $75 added to your check once a month. It's easy as that. So all the hand holding and all that, they don't do all that. You're supposed to know what you're doing, and you're just supposed to do it. And that's it. Every once in a blue moon, they might call you, be like, hey man, remember to put yourself on duty when you're getting fuel, or stuff like that. Hey man, stop idling the truck. That's one big thing about Marten. They're not with the idling of the truck stuff. So that's why they always make sure your Thermal King and your bunk heaters are working. Always make sure that stuff is working. You know, it's mandatory that it works. They'll send you back to the yard if it's not working. So just make sure you go back to the yard if that stuff is not working and get it fixed. Or you get in trouble like I did for running your truck overnight because I refused to be down Florida in 115-degree heat with no air. So that was not happening. They hurried up and got me to a yard and got it fixed. Other than that, man, your first load, it's just like if you've been anywhere else. It's pretty simple. Only thing about reefer is you're going to have all kinds of crazy delivery times. Marten has a lot of contract deliveries. Some places you got to be on time, like got to be. But a lot of places, as long as you let them know, say, hey man, I'm running late, send in a running late. I'm like, look, I'm running late. You know what I mean? You gave me too many loads back to back, and with traffic and all that, I'm just not going to make it on time. Trust me, it's not a big deal. You get there, they have a contract with Marten, so they're just going to fit you in as long as you've let somebody know so they can call the receiver or the shipper to let them know that you're going to be late there. But you do a lot of dropping hooks here, a lot of spot loads. Now, sometimes you can't get mad. Some of the spot loads are not spot loads. It's a setup. So Marten does not want you bobtailing the dropping hooks. They do not want you bobtailing because a lot of times the spot load is not ready and they're going to need the trailer that you got to get loaded. So most of the places, make sure you got 3/4 of fuel and just sweep the trailer out. There's really no place I've been with Marten where the trailer has to have a mandatory washout other than the place in the medical place for medical supplies in North Carolina. That is the only place you have to show a washout ticket showing that the trailer has been washed out, and that truck wash is literally right across the street from the place. They'll show you, they'll let you know that in the description when they send you the load, that so-and-so truck wash right across the street from the place that you're got to show the mandatory receipt that you've washed out. Another thing, make sure you send in your receipts. Now we have these fax things, these little fax machine thing. Sometimes they work, sometimes they. Right now mine's not working, so I'm sending everything through TransFlow because I don't have time to be fooling around with these things. So when I go back to the yard, I'll get another one. Until then, the one I have just isn't working, so you can use TransFlow. Not a big deal. Now, the second shift is going to act kind of dumb. They're going to be like, oh, I need to know the whatever for your TransFlow. You don't really have to pay them any mind. I just entertain them sometimes by sending it in, but it's up to your driver's manager. You have to answer to your driver's manager. The second shift comes on. Most of the time they could care less. Dude, they really can. They could care less if you get a load, where you get a load, if you're fighting to get miles that week. Like, try not to leave it up to the second shift to give you a load or to answer most of your questions that you have during the day. The second shift, the weekend, especially the weekend crew could really care less. So really don't listen to the weekend. See if you can leave it out of their hands. See if you can get preloaded from the week over the weekend. You do not want to leave it to the weekend crew. Luckily, I have a driver manager who has no life, so she never goes home. It's like every time I call Saturday, Sunday, she's at work. So she's at work every damn day. So she's been running me okay. I don't think she has a whole lot of experience, but that's why I say I communicate with her a lot. Let her know that I'm willing to stay out a little longer than 2 weeks. If you can get me so-and-so miles, or if you can get me across the Midwest to where I have to work my way all the way back. So we do that sometimes. One time I didn't make it back home in time, but most of the time I get back home in time. Like, it's mandatory. I get home every 2 weeks. I try to get home every week, but that wasn't working for where I live at. So if you're not driving, if you're out of Tucker, but you're not driving out of Tucker, then they're not going to let you go home every week. It's not going to work like that. So I'm in the Northeast out of Delaware. So it's hard for me to get loads. They don't have a lot of contracts with people over there besides Coca-Cola, and I don't have my hazmat yet. So that leaves me stuck where I can't go home every single week, and it's kind of dumb for me to run around in circles up there when that's not what they hired me for. They hired me for Southeast region. That's where I have to run out of. So it is what it is. But I hope this answered most of your questions that a lot of you had as far as drug tests. It's just a piss test. That's it. You do have to get another. If you already have a medical card, and your medical card is at least, I want to say, 3 to at least 4 months before it's due to be renewed, 4 to 5 months, they'll let you keep that one. If it's under 2 months, you're gonna have to go. They'll set up a thing, and you all go over there all together and redo and get your medical card again. Like I have a place I go to in Delaware where I go get mine, and all you have to do is just send them a copy of it. Just get yours done where you're at. If you're going to be stressed out about if you have high blood pressure or something, you're going to be stressed out about taking your medical test and taking your physical, then just get it done where you live at, where you feel more comfortable, where you know you don't have to worry about failing it. And some people are worried about failing their physicals. For eyesight, blood pressure, and they do test you for sugar. So, but that's just a piss test also. Just pee in a cup, they stick the stick in there and see if any of the squares change colors. And that's it. So that covers orientation, Southeast region, how you run, how you get your guaranteed $1,000 a week. For Walmart, that also matters. And how Walmart works and how the inside of Walmart works, how you run with Walmart. I do not know that because I refuse to do Walmart. So I had a bad experience out of Nashville. They asked me to do Walmart, and I had 4 drops in one day with 6 hours on my clock. Anybody that's ran around Tennessee knows that's not going to work. 2, you get to these Walmarts, and the people working in the back start running from the trucks because they don't want to unload the trucks, because they unload by hand. Maybe a hand pallet jack, but that's about it. So everybody runs from the trucks. So you're there for unnecessary amounts of time because you let them have to damn near shame them into doing their job. And I don't have time for that. Like, it left me on the side of the road because my clock had ran out. Like, I consider the side of the road to be an off ramp or rest area. As you're coming into a rest area, I don't like parking like that. I don't like parking like that. Puts you in risk to get a ticket, and I actually have gotten a ticket before for that. And another thing, when you do get tickets, speeding tickets, anything like that, they do have a point system here. So once you have gotten a certain amount of points, they're going to let you know, because you're going to get wrote up once you've gotten a certain amount of points for tickets, speeding, having an accident in the truck. It could be a non-vehicle or non-fault accident. It all adds up. So you have to watch that also, how often you tear your truck up. Like, I've gotten a speeding ticket and a parking ticket. So those are the only things that I've gotten so far. So I hope this answered most of your questions about Martin. I'm not able to see everybody's question that they actually asked. It's not very a big deal. It's a very, very easy company to come to. But if you do feel that you want to mention me for coming there, my driver number is 72278. I'm truck 62680. And all right, man, y'all have a nice day. I'll be back with another video. When I've been kind of depressed about my team losing, I'm a Ravens fan, so you've probably seen that. You've seen my videos. So I haven't made a video in a while because I haven't felt like talking. All right, that's why he made a video. All right. Pyrex